I won't lie. I'm sort of disappointed because I thought this team still needed that type of guy. And I don't think it's Benoit. I would have loved like a Zadorov from Calgary. And to me, this Benoit signing, at least in my world, pretty much waves the flag and says, "Hey, this is the roster. This is the back end we're going into training camp with." It's not a big deal. Like I still think they're pretty good, but I still wonder if they're deep enough. So the way it's slated right now, Riley Brody, McCabe Klingberg, Giordano Lilligren, and then Benoit and Timmins as your 7-8. Ideally, I think I want the bottom four, if you will, to be a bit stronger, a bit deeper, and maybe a bit more versatile, a bit harder to play against. But again, we're really gasping at straws. I think it is a deep Maple Leafs team, but I think down the road at some point in time this season, they're going to need to add that type of defenseman, Rosie.
Yeah, you'd hope so. And, we wanted to get that at, free agency. Um, it happened to a point with Klingberg. The jury's out on what he's going to be like. We know he's capable of playing really high quality NHL defenseman type hockey in this league. He hasn't done it in a while. And I always feel like it's a lost cause when you expect someone to come into Toronto and be better than they have been ever or in the
Yeah.
past. It's kind of like it's difficult to perform in Toronto. The proof's in the pudding, and to expect a guy to come in and wow you is kind of naive maybe to a point. But that being said, if he comes out and shows some solid defensive and offensive defensive play for a defenseman, that's going to be a big addition. But I agree with you. It doesn't seem like they're quite there. It doesn't seem like, oh, this is a Stanley Cup caliber defensive squad. And when you look at the guys who win the cups, they always have those big, thick, tough D that are solid and responsible and can take control of the game and slow it down if need be and chip in offensively and be rugged and tough. And I mean, they don't look like that right now. But like you just said to start this show, going into training camp, this is kind of not the holy grail of the season. So we got time to
Yeah.
move things around. Tree Living can work his magic a little bit if some trades come in down the pipe, down Christmas time or the deadline. I mean, the sky's the limit for what this decor can look like going into the playoffs, but I think it's a good start.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Brad Treliving knows this. And I mean, he pretty much intimated to the fact when he took over this job that maybe they need to change their look a bit on the back end. And that's why they've been linked to some guys throughout this offseason. I know it's a copycat league, but you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, their body of work, how big like every defenseman on that roster was. And then you try to compare them to the Maple Leafs and say, hey, could they boast anything close to that? Now, granted, they don't have a Petrangelo. They don't have a Theodore. I mean, their best they can offer. Pretty good defenseman, obviously, in a Morgan Riley, but he's not of that ilk, of that cloth, if you will. So that's my wonder sort of moving forward is how can they find a way to modify their back end? Like I agree with you on Klingberg, but he's very offensive minded. He is not good defensively. To think he can be that guy who's like a perennial all-star again, I think is a tough stretch, especially in this market. That would be an amazing story. Don't get me wrong. If John Klingberg somehow returns to form as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I understand why they got him. Like he can move the puck, he can play that type of game, and I think he can get the puck to the big boys up front. So there's nothing wrong with that. I just think when it comes to the playoffs and you look at the body of work and the success of recent teams in recent memory, you need that type of defenseman. That's why we love Schenner. Guys like that who are going to make things difficult to play against for the opponent.
Yeah, and I think that it's a good start what we have here with the defense, but there's
Yeah.
a missing piece. I want that stud. I want that, that Duncan Keith or that
Yeah.
Letang type stud who can really be like your number one guy. And then the guys we're mentioning can kind of be that supporting cast who can really add that depth and that layers when, you're resting your big boys, get out there and still contribute and not be a liability. And then I would like to see some physicality, like another big step in the physicality. And I hope that McCabe and some of these guys can kind of provide that and step up. And it's tough to ask guys to do things that they don't normally do. But to me, I just keep banging my head against the wall saying you can't ask a guy to go, put up 50 points. Like it's just not there. But everyone can finish their checks. Everyone can play with a chip on their shoulder. It's just so frustrating when a team needs something so badly. And all these guys that are physically and mentally capable of it, just like, not me, not me. Like, why can't every guy, this fucking decor needs to bulk up and play a little bit stiffer, and every guy's capable of it. Like, again, you don't have to fight, but just play meaner, play tougher, finish your checks, don't get pushed around, stand up with your chest out. Why can't these guys do it? It just drives me to no end, especially when there's like 6'3" bodies standing there, and it's like, we need a guy like this, but we can't get it. We're at the cap crunch and there's no one available, and we don't have anyone to give up to get this guy. And all these guys are like, it's like, you could all do that. You could show up on day one and play big and play mean and finish your checks and clear the crease and say F you to every guy that comes near your goalie. It's not that hard. And it just frustrates me when guys just are like not even on their radar to even attempt to try to do that.